when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. We sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we pray twice. When we sing, when we sing, when we sing, we are one. Shirul Adonai, 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 Shir. When we sing, when we sing, Shirul Adonai, Shirul Adonai, when we sing, Shirul Adonai, we pray Shirul Adonai, when we sing, Shirul Adonai, when we sing, Shirul Adonai, when we sing, Shirul Adonai, we are Shirul Adonai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here on this Friday night. I have been waiting for this night all week. Haven't you? Just been waiting for Shabbat to come.
I definitely
And
have.
it's finally here. And tonight is such a special Shabbat for so many reasons. Of course, Ava and Louisa are having their Benot Mitzvah tomorrow, and we're celebrating together with them and their families. I'm so glad that Cantor Lainey Zell, our student cantor for the year, is back for the second year with us. She made it through the pandemic and still chose to stuck with us after that experience.
How
We're
could I not?
thrilled. So thrilled to have you back. Welcome. Cantor Zell is up in New York at Hebrew Union College in her third year of cantorial school and is going to be with us for the year. And we have no rabbi, so the cantors are just going to have a good time. We're going to sing lots of music. It's going to be great. And of course, we're blessed to have our wonderful house band here tonight with, of course, Tony Knocker, who's leading us on piano, Aaron Bertaglio, and Bruno Nasta. But we have a special addition tonight, Anthony Jenkins on bass. Anthony was in our family band for many years, moved away to much sadness, and is now back, I will say, home with us for Shabbos. And he will be our darshan. He will be giving our Devar Torah this evening. So we're so blessed to have him here with us. And again, it's wonderful to be together and to sing together. So we're going to learn a new melody tonight, one for the Baruch Hu that our very own Tony Knocker has composed. So we're going to learn it now just on Lila Lai, and when it comes back to us later in the service, we'll join together in these words of coming together, praying together, and stepping up to be each other's partners. So we join in this Lila Lai. It's a very Jewish-sounding melody, so I think you'll be up for the challenge. Here we go. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Let's try it again together. Here we go. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. So beautiful. Such a wonderful way to welcome in Shabbat. Another way is to see each other's faces, to greet each other. I invite you to take a few moments to turn perhaps at a social distance way to a friend, to someone you haven't seen, or maybe a new face, and wish them Shabbat Shalom. It's an honor to invite up the mothers of our Benot Mitzvah, Naomi and Valerie, to join us on the bima as they welcome in Shabbat with the lighting of the candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
And on page 2, we join together in our candle blessing. We turn now to page 13 as we welcome in Shabbat with these Psalms, Kabbalat Shabbat, Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash. We sing to God a new song. A new song.
Yeshuato.
On page 20, we join in these words of Lecha Dodi, welcoming in the Shabbat bride, that peaceful moment of Shabbat among us. Tonight we'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and if you feel comfortable, it's our tradition at Temple Shalom to rise for verse 9 and face the entrance as we welcome Shabbat into our midst. Lecha Dodi, Likerat Kala, Penei Shabbat, Nekabela, Lecha We continue with the Baruch Hu on page 28. Please rise. So sorry, everybody. And we turn now to the words in our programs, words to this prayer, Ma'ariv Aravim, on page 30, but you'll find the English in your program. Speak to the beauty of the night around us, especially as we see winter approaching, dare I say, the light of day, the days, hours becoming shorter, and night coming upon us. We feel that Christmas in the air, and this really makes me think of this beautiful prayer, Ma'ariv Aravim. I hope you'll join me in the beauty of these words. Baruch atah Adonai, speak the evening into being. B'chokhmah poteach she'arim, as you turn the seasons round. Machalif et hazmanim, let the stars keep watch above us. Baraki akir tzono, for the day and night are yours. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kol elor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kol elor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Umavir yom umevi layla, crossing over into darkness. Umavdil yom uvein layla, drawing lines within the light. Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, God living and enduring. Tamid yimloch aleinu, forever and beyond. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kol elor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Borei yom v'layla, borei yom v'layla, kol elor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. We join together on page 36 in chanting of Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi
מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On the top of page 39, we join together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 40, we join in the words of Micha Mocha.
ונאמר כי פן אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 42, 43.
There Please turn to page 46 and rise for the Amidah, or Tefillah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. And turn to page 56. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael utfilatam be'ahava tikabel. Uthi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. El karov lechol korav. Penei el avadecha v'chonenu. Shefoch ruchacha aleinu. V'techazena anenu. Beshuvcha leTzion berachamim. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato leTzion. Page 59. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? What mortals that you take note of us? You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We take a moment of silent prayer. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav. Okay. So at this time, we turn our thoughts to the people in our lives who need healing, whether that's physical, mental, spiritual, or emotional. And we bring them to the forefront of our minds. And if you can't say their name out loud, say it in your heart. The Temple Road of Shalom is thinking about Alon ben Barbara, Hannah bat Miriam, Esther bat Hannah, Hannah Esther bat Crandall, Hannah Leah bat Yosef v'Chendel, Shmuel Yoel ben Shaul, Sima Pearl Leah bat Chaya, Yehuda ben Fischel, Ann Bennett, Henry Botuk, Maria Campo, Benifer Devar, Elizabeth Drabkin, Ellen Gallant, Heather Glick, Sarah Heppenstall, Martha Kelly, Rachel Apter Koliopoulos, Dorothy Mikolajczyk, Rhoda Moses, Pedro Cueto, Stan Richter, Monty Skall, Angie Slonim, and Francis Wolfson. As my eyes pass around the room, please feel free to say the name of your loved one who you would like to wish healing upon. Please join me in singing Misha Berach. Misha Berach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is such an honor on this special Shabbat to get to introduce an incredible person, Anthony Jenkins, who's here to share words of Torah with us. I want to give a little bit of an introduction to him. He was here for many years, played in our family band, and offered a beautiful Devar Torah at Jazz Shabbat a few years ago, honoring Andy Trice, Zichrono Livracha. And it's an honor to have him back to share words of Torah again tonight. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what he's been up to over these past 2 very interesting years. He currently serves as chaplain to the 59th Training Group located at the Medical Education and Training Campus Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, Texas, with 1,500 people. It's called METC for short, and it's where most enlisted medical personnel from all 5 branches go for their job-specific stuff after they leave basic training. He also supports the 959th Medical Group located at Army Medical Center, 800 people. And he also does another technical term, GUGOBS, of counseling and pastoral care, which is Anthony's jam. He does lots of advising for the brass on spiritual, moral, and ethical things, teaching religious accommodations, and he leads an interfaith service every Sunday afternoon and a meditation and mindfulness group every Saturday afternoon. And he does daily inspirational 5 minutes words of wisdom briefing for all of the 59 training group students at each day's final formation at the end of class. So we are so very lucky to receive some of those minutes of inspiration tonight. Thank you, Anthony, for joining up on the bima and sharing your words of Torah and wisdom with us.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Once upon a time, winter, 1973, many souls thought for sure it was the end times. Everywhere on earth, there seemed to be wars, plagues, enslavement, famine. A comet called Kahutek seemed destined to crash into the earth. Many earthlings felt doomsday was any day now. The poet Madeleine L'Engle saw all of that and wrote, "This is no time for a child to be born, with the earth betrayed by war and hate, and a comet slashing the sky to warn that time runs out and the sun burns late. When is the time for love to be born? The inn is full on the planet Earth, and by a comet the sky is torn, and yet love still takes the risk of birth." Once upon Abraham's time, it was no time for a child to be born. There was a hateful war between 9 kings happening, sun-scorched drought, famine feasting on families, once-in-a-lifetime plagues. Canaan was no country for old men, and Abraham was no spring chicken. 99, give or take. He and Sarah had moved to Egypt, but for 10 years, their infertility mountain had not moved. And there was Abraham's son Ishmael and the corresponding Cold War between Sarah and his mom Hagar, Sarah's ex-servant, very Jerry Springer. Many in that time believed it was the end times, no time to try to begin a life, to risk birth under the skies that were both star-crossed and war-torn. That was no time for a child to be born. That now was the apocalypse. According to my mother, this now is the apocalypse, like right now. MSNBC is the love of her life. Rachel Maddow is her spirit animal. 9 p.m. is her holy hour. My mom will leave you hanging in the middle of the most heartfelt, tear-filled confession. At 8:59, you will find yourself suddenly talking to yourself. And if you know her, you know any evening conversation with her is risky. I'd say she probably consumes the breaking news equivalent of 2 packs a day. Far more than her recommended daily allowance of fear, not nearly enough hope. To her, life has never been so plagued by hate, violence, and war, never so much disease or division in the country, never this much political polarization, never so close to self-destruction. She hopes that humanity will steer clear, but she fears that the apocalypse is now. I often remind her that 1978 was no time for a child, this child, to be born. It was the Cold War, Afghan Civil War, Libya versus Egypt, Son of Sam sentenced in New York, Jonestown cult suicide in Guyana, U.S. teachers on strike, U.S. dollar at a record low, the plague of Jim Crow still at a record high. Was 1978 any time for love to be born? Nope, way too risky. That now was the apocalypse. I often remind my mom that her year of birth, 1952, was no time for a child to be born. 7 years after the Holocaust, at least 6 million deaths, and the birth of the atomic bomb. Only 4 years after the Arab-Israeli War of 1948. 1952 was the Mau Mau Rebellion in Kenya, 11,000 deaths. The London smog disaster, 4,000 deaths. Polio epidemic, 3,300. 1952 was no time for love to be born, and yet my mom was. 2 years before Brown versus the Board of Education. And my mother would rise to be a lifelong educator, finishing her career serving on a board of education. I remind her of our visit to Somerset Place Plantation, North Carolina, 2016, where our ancestors on her side entered this country as enslaved property, 1778, strangers in a strange land. Bought, sold, tortured, executed. No end in sight, no dream of deliverance. For many, It felt hopeless. Slavery was the apocalypse. 400-year plague, no time for a child to be born, way too risky. And yet, love still took the risk of birth, and still I rise. So we find ourselves here, now, wondering what episode our country and our world will next give birth to. I'm not saying there isn't a lot wrong with this now. The modern day plague of COVID, 700,000 deaths and counting, melting glaciers, rising seas and tensions, forests are burning late, time is running out. War is escalating, races are reckoning, religions are raging. This is no time for a child or love to be born. It is the apocalypse now. But is it? Is 2021 really worse than 1978? 78 really worse than 1952 or 1778? I would say the apocalypse is always now. In a sense, life is always much better and much worse than ever before. Every time in the history of time was the end times for some tribe. Just ask them. Also, no time is ever 100% good time to do anything new. Move, have a baby, start or leave a relationship, start or sell a business. You can always make a solid case to shelter in place. But then, the world might pass you by. I hold Einstein's truth to be self-evident. Time is an illusion. All time is essentially now, one holy moment of always, unfolding eternally from and to the eternal one. So, every moment is the time for love to be born. Every time is the season for loving. I would say birth and death are life, and life is always risky. Your presence in this synagogue right now is risky, lest we forget Tree of Life 3 Octobers ago. The simple fact of your race, gender, class, spirituality, ability, nationality, and or sexual orientation frightens and threatens many and is risky. Your drive home from here will be risky. Your next step is a risk. Your next breath is a risk. Risk will be true no matter what you do. You will give birth to something new in every new moment. So I tell my mom, why not love? Birth more of God's love. I remind her often that the revolution will not be televised, so turn off the TV and the phone sometime. Tonight's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, translates to, in Hebrew, go for yourself. Get yourself going. Go outside of your comfort zone. Go inside your heart. Go into love's uncharted territories. Go do the work of love now. And if you ever find yourself doing that work alongside my mother in the evening hours, just know that she'll probably disappear around 8:59-ish. Let there be love. It's our only hope. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for touching us with those words, Anthony. That was beautiful, so moving. We continue with a prayer that I think brings that call to a head, Aleinu l'shabeach, which calls us to stand and to move forward and to stand up for the ideals in which we believe. So we turn to page 282. I invite Craig to join us on the bima to open the ark doors. And I invite Louisa and Ava to lead us in Aleinu as we rise. Turn to page 282 and join together.
Shavinka May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair.
Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
We turn now to a time of memory. We think of those in our lives who have passed, either in recent days, at this time in years past, or perhaps just someone of whom you're thinking this evening. Maybe the smell in the air or this season has reminded you of them and their presence in your life. I invite you, starting on page 288, to take a moment of reflection, think upon loved ones in your life who you have lost, and we will continue in a few moments together with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. It's our custom at Temple Rhodes Shalom to stand upon hearing the name of your loved one when I read it on our list this evening. And then after the list is complete, I'll ask for additional names or for you to restate a name if I mispronounce it. We offer condolences to the following people who have lost a loved one who has not yet had a burial. To Julie Kaplan and Rabbi and Jim Kaplan on the death of their cousin and grandniece, Emily Rose Storm. And to Jeffrey Shapiro on the death of his mother, Diane Shapiro. We think of those in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. Eve John Jones, mother of Sarah John. Beatrice Daniel, beloved TRS member. Louis Landsberg, father of Allison Landsberg. Sandra Spector, wife of Robert Spector. Neville Sender, father of Marjorie Alloy. And Harvey Brooks, brother of Eileen Banker. And we think of those who have passed at this time in years past. Dominic Acitelli, Sydney Ackerman, Estelle Arndt, Amy Arts, Claire Ballin, Charlotte Berend, Jeffrey Burke, James Berkowitz, Marvin Braderman, Bessie Budenstein, Paul Berman, Rabbi Marcus Bernstein, Hilda Danisau, H. Richard Davis, Barbara Davis, Debbie Irwin, Irene Farkas Kahn, Lee Foreman, Samuel Frank, Blanche Freilich, Beatrice Gladstone, Bert Gordon, Mary Greeley, Cyrus Gutman, Eric Holnick, Jeffrey Kaplan, Joyce Kaplan, Joseph David Kaufman, Rosalind Kaufman, Louis Kirschenbaum, Jeanette Mangner, Rosalie Mars, Anna Meller, Deanna Milburn, Robert Monat, Marvin Morgenbesser, Bruno Palumbo, Gail Podell, Philip Polk, Sidney Popkin, Fred Richter, Daniel Roberts, Nathan Rodnan, Deborah Roseman, Kermit Rosenberg, Lena Rosengard Cook, Francis Rotter, Rosalind Rosen, Robert Rubenstein, Harold Sarshik, Henry Schrager, Kay Schaefer, Mitzi Shands, Phyllis Schuch, Phyllis Smith, Ellen Summers, and Morris Tarika. And again, if you'd like to add a name or names to our list this evening or repronounce a name that I may have mispronounced, I invite you to do so now. Sorry, I missed a few names. Anyone still over here? Barbara Walton, Shirley Weil, Guinness Wheeler, and Ethel Siegman. My apologies. And as our custom here to stand shoulder to shoulder with those in mourning to give our support and love to them as we join together in the words of Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. B'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uvizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimeru. Amen. Yehe shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of them be a blessing continued in our lives. Please be seated. It's an honor to call upon the wonderful Amy Beckman, our temple president, to share with us greetings and announcements.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Cantor Rhodes, and our student cantor, Lainey Zoll, and Mazel Tov to Ava and Louisa and their families. May you enjoy the special day tomorrow and leading us in service, and we're so proud of you both. I also want to thank our band. And Anthony, thank you so much for your words. They were deeply meaningful, reminding us of pain, but also of love and hope. And thank you so much. That was really, really, really special. It is my honor to welcome all of you and to say Shabbat Shalom. I greet those who are watching us virtually tonight, and I'm so delighted to see so many people here in the sanctuary tonight. We are always pleased to remind everyone of the wonderful program that we have going on here at Temple Word of Shalom. And let me point out a few highlights. Starting on Sunday, there is a 3-part series, and it's not too late to register. And we encourage everyone to be able to register and be able to watch perhaps part or all 3 of the sessions. This has been a work in progress for many, many years, and we're excited and eager to learn about this, to learn so much from our symposium that's coming up on the Israeli-Palestinian dilemma, moving beyond who's right and who's wrong. And that will take place on the next 3 Sundays for part of the day. It's both available virtually and here in the sanctuary, and it will be an excellent program. We also have the second of 3-part series on understanding racism in our communities, which will be on Wednesday night, October 20th at 7. And to round all that off, we have a terrific Baking in the Neighborhood program, challah and gluten-free challah, on Thursday, October 21st at 7:30, taught by our master TRS baker, Tony Sandler. And that's available virtually. And closing off, I just want to say Shabbat Shalom again, and everyone have a nice evening and a safe trip home. Thank you.
Okay, we join together now in the Kiddush, blessing over the wine. I invite you to please rise. We turn to page 5, and it's an honor to call up our Benot Mitzvah to help lead us in the Kiddush. We join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, במצוותיו ורצבנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה ורצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תפילה למקראי קודש, זכר יציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכהנים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. L'chaim. Take your sip and put it back on the table. We remain standing for our closing song and benediction. Before we end, a few short things. If you please, unless you want to keep it as a keepsake, which you may if you want, return these. We will use them again in our effort of greeting tomorrow at our bat mitzvah service in the morning. You guys can go back. Nice job. And there's also a to-go-nag at the front entrance. I know it's an amazing term, and I love it. I will be sad when we can't use it anymore, of wonderful cookies and challah. We hope that you'll take something sweet with you as you're leaving this evening. We continue with a nigun, a wordless melody, one of joy as we celebrate and ease into the Shabbat of peace. I hope you'll join us. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar me'od, v'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. The entire world is a narrow bridge, and the most important thing is to not be afraid. Even when we find ourselves in moments where we feel afraid in those narrow places, may we turn to love, turn to joy, turn to Shabbat, and find that we are able to cross over. Shabbat shalom.